Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily AMG. I am back today with my October wrap-up, which means the Halloween season is over. Oh my gosh, y'all, this is like, Thanksgiving is my absolute favorite holiday, but there's just something about Halloween. You get to dress up and have fun, and I'm such a kid at heart that any opportunity I can find to dress up, you bet your bottom dollar I'm dressing up. And so now that I'm doing this wrap up, it's kind of like hit me that I just have to remove some bats that I have hanging from my dining room chandelier lighting thing. And then Halloween is over. And it's just really sad. But let's get into the 13 books that I read for October, which is a very fitting number for for October, right? I almost said for Halloween month. It is Halloween month. God. I wonder what it feels like to be October and you're just overshadowed by the fact that we only are here for Halloween. Just kidding. So I have my chai tea. I have found that chai tea with the silk vanilla coffee creamer and like one little packet of stevia is perfection. I have pulled up my Goodreads so that I can go over the 13 books that I read in October. So the first book that I read was The Trials of Morrigan Crow. This is the Nevermore series. This is the first in the Nevermore series. The second book came out, I believe, October 30th. So it's out now. I'm definitely going to read it at some point. But as I stated in my Spookathon wrap-up, or my Spookathon vlog, because I vlogged that readathon, y'all, I was so in a weird place come the very end of October, because then I was thinking ahead to November, and it's NaNoWriMo, and it's Nonfiction November, and it's No Shave November, and I'm just kidding, I don't participate in that. But the mindset was just, it started getting very skewed at that point. So anyways, all of that to say, I did not pick up the second in the Nevermore series, even though, oh, I guess I should tell you what this is about. So, Morrigan Crow is about to turn 11, 12. Oh gosh, I think she's about to turn 11 for some reason. Anyway, she's about to turn a significant age. An age of which, due to what kind of person she is set to die at the stroke of midnight. But in comes a very mysterious, eccentric gentleman, and he has now taken her. It's really kind of hard to explain this world. Basically, she's sort of got like an internship kind of thing, and so he like sweeps in, says, nope, I want Morgan to come with me to my like kind of a trial, the trials of Morrigan Crow, and that's what this is. And I really can't tell you a lot of without spoiling like so much of everything, other than to say this book was a 5-star read for me. It is a true middle grade. It is fabulous. It does give you those Harry Potter feels, just because there's just so much of that good versus evil, and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and really coming into your own and finding your own inner strengths to be able to use your true gifts. And I just loved it. And I think that if you have middle graders in your family or on your Christmas list, this is definitely one. You have 2 out now. This is definitely a series I would say to purchase for them for Christmas. Okay, so that was a definite 5-star. That was absolutely fantastic. The second book that I read in October was Cirque du Freak. And this is Cirque du Freak #1. There is a series. I am not certain how many there are. There may be like 8 or 9 or 10 of these. This is also middle school, but it's more, I don't even know, like maybe not like intermediate aged middle schoolers. Does that make any sense? I don't have children, but I'm trying to think. It's definitely for an older middle grade that maybe secretly cusses on the bus. You know what I mean? Because there's like some cussing and some, it's about a kid who goes to a Cirque du Freak show, which is like an underground circus of freaks. Imagine that. Cirque du Freak literally says that. And they come in contact with a vampire. So one of the kids steals something from the vampire, and then the vampire finds out about it, and the kid gets into this position to where he basically owes the vampire a favor, and he becomes the vampire's apprentice. So this is just the first one. It's sort of slow. I think I gave it 4 stars. Let me just click on it and tell you what I gave it. 4 stars. And I would definitely say like a 3.75 situation. It is an older middle grade book. And so I would definitely continue the series. Some of these on Hoopla. I think they're all on Hoopla, which is great, but you only get 4 credits on Hoopla, so it's going to take you a few months if that's the only Hoopla credit that you use. The issue that I ran into, I do see myself wanting to continue the series though. Okay, and then the next book that I read, I actually have here, and that is If We Were Liars. No! Why do they all sound the same? If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and this book, y'all, was so fantastic. It follows a Shakespeare troupe that gets themselves into a bit of a murder and mystery investigation situation, and one of them takes the fault for something. It starts out with him getting out of prison 10 years after the arrest, and the arresting officer meets him and says, you know, hey, you and I both know you took the fault for this, but I'm retiring, and it's just eating away at me. I want to know what really happened on this campus, because it's like a collegiate Shakespeare troupe. And so then you go back 10 years, and he goes through the whole entire story. It is a slow burn, and I love a slow burn. I love a character-driven plot line, and oh my gosh, if you remotely liked The Secret History by Donna Tartt, read this immediately. You will not be disappointed. It is so fantastic, especially if you enjoy Shakespeare, if you have a love for the performing arts. It's just so, it's so good. It's so good. Obviously, I gave this 5 stars, and it is one of my like top 10 favorite books of life. There you go. All right, and then I read, okay. So I have heard about this book a lot. And it is Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. It's like an Alice in Wonderland, through the looking glass type of story, but you have doors. So you could just open a door and it could take you someplace completely different. Like you could be like trying to get your shoes out your closet, open your closet door, and if it's your time to go into the great beyond to do some sort of otherworldly stuff, then that doorway is now the doorway of the path that you now are taking. If you're jiving with that, I have heard that this is some of people's favorite series, and I did give it 3 stars. I did like certain aspects of it, But I don't know if it was just because I had just coming off of We Were Villains and I was just in a little bit of a book hangover and I wanted something with magical realism and something that could just take my mind off of the dark, twisted, wonderful path that I had just gone on. And this just didn't get there for me. I won't finish the series. I can probably just go ahead and say that for sure. But then I picked up Sadie by Courtney Summers. Oh my gosh, y'all. This book was fantastic. So this is a YA thriller. A YA thriller is not something that I typically pick up. I think some people may say that like We Were Villains could potentially be a YA thriller because of their age, but it definitely to me isn't like a true John Green, Rainbow Rowell YA thing, if that makes any sense. But Sadie is specifically sold as a YA thriller. So you have a pair of sisters. One is murdered and the other is seeking revenge. A podcast, so think like Serial, has started investigating the story as well, and they're following Sadie. It's that, oh, she was just here 3 days ago situation where you're just like on the edge of your seat. Even though you're following Sadie and you're following the podcast story, you're just like on pins and needles the entire time. I read this in one sitting with just like my jaw on the floor, and I was just like blown away by how spectacular this book was. And of course I gave it 5 stars. And then the next book that I picked up was Frankenstein. So on my October TBR, I'm doing pretty good, right? I wanted to read If We Were Villains. I wanted to read Frankenstein. I finally read Frankenstein. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It took me a little bit to get into, and then it took me a little bit to continue. And the one thing that I have like gained from reading this is that anytime somebody says anything about Frankenstein, the green thing that everybody associates now as just being Frankenstein, I'm like, no. Because he was made from human parts. He doesn't look like that. He doesn't have bolts in his head. He's not green. It just really bugs me. I've always been the type of person to know that Frankenstein was the scientist and it was Frankenstein's monster. So I would personally never just call a green thing, oh, look, you're dressed up as a Frankenstein. I would definitely have said, oh, you're Frankenstein's monster. And now even more so, I'm just like anti-green guy. Because that's not what she was doing here. It's so funny how things like that morph into different other things. I'll always be a fan of Young Frankenstein, that kind of thing, because I'm just a huge Gene Wilder fan. But I don't know. Now I'm just like, no. I'm going to be a snob about it, I guess. So after Frankenstein, I picked up The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I was not aware that this actually takes place in the summer, and I wish I would have read it in like late August, early September to get really into the fall vibes, super enveloped in that. So it takes place during the summer, and it's about a girl and her mother, and they live in this town in Washington State where these witches were drowned. And every year they come back and go on a killing spree by drowning boys. Because they were like killed because they loved, it's a thing. And so I gave this like 3.75 stars. The feels were there. The storyline fell short for me. It's witchy and good, and it's light, so it's YA. So there's just some elements that just didn't quite tick all the boxes for me like I thought maybe they would. I think I had a higher expectation than what was given. The one that I read following that is the exact same, like pretty much exact same thing. I gave, oh, would you like to know what book it was? So, The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. I gave this a 3.75. This is my second Ruth Ware. I think I gave The Woman in Cabin 10 a 4.5. So you follow a woman who is in her early 20s who has lost her mother recently within the last, I think like 3 years ago. And she receives a letter stating that she has had a family member pass away and that she needs to come and collect on some inheritance, etc. She gets there, she meets all of these family members, and there is a great character development and plot development. But I guessed, and I said this in my Spookathon wrap-up too, when you're reading a mystery, you're constantly guessing. And I take away stars or a star or whatever if I guess it. So that was kind of what happened here. So like I said, 3.75, 4 stars. I will definitely pick up more Ruth Ware. I really like her writing style. I like certain aspects, like our main character is a tarot card reader, and I really loved every scene where she was reading people's tarot, especially when she started reading her family's tarot. Like, oh man, because she's an outsider going into this, and she doesn't even think that they have the right person. So those elements were so good, and I really enjoyed this. So then I read Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, and this one like 4.5. I really want to continue. This book, I will just say this, and I'm not spoiling anything, I don't think. If I am, I'm really sorry. But I feel like you should know going into this, because I didn't know going into it, and it really frustrated me because I would have just waited until all 3 are out, because it is a trilogy. It is a YA mystery. I love how I started this going, I've never read a YA mystery, and now I've read like 17. But the very last sentence of this book is, to be continued. To be continued. So the next one comes out in January, and I think I'm just going to wait until the 3rd one is out and reread the first one and then binge the rest, because I don't want another to be continued, because these characters are outstanding, the plot is outstanding, the mystery elements are outstanding. So you have a school in Vermont, which aren't you already, just all the fall vibes of a school in Vermont, where in the 30s there were some murders, and then the murderer left riddles, like, you know, like the Riddler flipped out magazine notes. And then both of your main girls in both dual timelines are obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. And so there's like a lot of there's just so much good old school mystery elements here. Like, so good. So good. So I definitely want to continue, because nothing got wrapped up. In fact, you have like one super tailspin moment, and then it says, to be continued. I couldn't take it. Alright, so that was Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. The next book that I read, that I can never, ever get my life back from, is #FashionVictim. Maybe I should have gone into this saying, Amanda, don't let a cute, kitschy cover distract the fact that this is called hashtag fashion victim, and it is going to be absolute garbage. Gosh, that was way too harsh. It's just mind-numbing. There's just no depth to this. It really bugged me. So you have a woman who is deeply disturbed, and she wants to do anything and everything it takes to be a fashion model's BFF and succeed in this magazine that she works for. And so this takes place during like Fashion Week and at this magazine, and it has so much potential. So much potential. A murder mystery set in New York, set in the fashion world. There is so much potential there. Like, I may just have to write that because this was awful. And it is just a whole bunch of Valley Girls. It's like if you took Clueless and you took out the depth and humor and intelligence of Clueless and then put them at a fashion magazine. It's just, I gave this 1 star, obviously. So I just can't. And I feel terrible. I don't like to just completely obliterate someone's work. And who am I? That may be someone's most favorite book ever. And it's gotten so much hype. But that can also be bought and paid for. So I really don't know. Wow. It wasn't for me. We'll just say that. Okay, so then I read Wicked Appetite, which is the first in a Janet Evanovich series. I just needed to cleanse my palate. I needed some lemon sorbet up in here because that was just, I just can't. So I just read a funny, lighthearted book about, well, it's called Wicked Appetite because it's a book about the 7 deadly sins, and this one was all about a lady who made cupcakes because being a glutton, and the woman has her own cupcake business, and then demons and such arise, and they fight the bad guy, and I gave this 2.75, round it to a 3. It did what it needed to do in that it was funny. It cleansed my palate, and it let me move on. So then I picked up Practical Magic. So I knew that The Rules of Magic was a prequel to Practical Magic, but I didn't realize that she then like labeled them 1 and 2. So I read Practical Magic, and I didn't get to, again, for the 2nd year in a row, I didn't get to The Rules of Magic, but that is apparently the first one. And I think I gave Practical Magic 4 stars. I did enjoy that it went, there's a section of it that is pretty much the movie. But then there's bookends of actual, like the girl's childhood and then their children's kind of growing up kind of thing. So it was good. It was just good. It was good. Like, I would probably read it again. I will definitely be reading The Rules of Magic at some point, and I will definitely read Practical Magic again following that. Because it gave you the feels, and it's one of my favorite movies for this time of year. So, like I said, I gave it 4 stars. And then I finished up my 13th read that I finished the 30th was Lethal White by Robert Gilbreth, aka J.K. Rowling. And this is the 4th in the Cormoran Strike series. And I gave this 5 stars, as I give every Cormoran Strike book, because they're just so good. The thing that J.K. Rowling can do is she can write a character. She can write the twists and the turns and the emotions and the gripping scenes. And she just does such a good job weaving. She can weave storylines like none other. She's more of a slow burn in The Casual Vacancy than anything else I've read from her. but this Cormoran Strike series is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. Am I pissed to the highest level of pistivity that she chose to write under a male's name? Aren't we all? Even J.K. Rowling. I just can't. This is that. It's a story for another day. It's a, what do you call it? A rant. It's a rant for another day. So I am at like 30 minutes. I will try and edit this way on down. But yeah, that's what I read in the month of October. What did you read in October? Let me know in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. The 4 of you that will watch this. I will see you in my next video. I don't know what it'll be. It'll probably be a November wrap up. I will see you guys later. Bye.